Hey everyone, Landon here again from BreakTurn. This episode is going to be the standard presentation that we give whenever we go to a conference, whether it's Women in Aviation, Middle to Civ, RTAG. This is our general brief for folks who may not know what a SkillBridge is, or they may not know what BreakTurn is and how it can help them. And so this is going to be about a 10 to 15 minute presentation to kind of give everyone a good idea of what they can expect for both SkillBridge and for BreakTurn. So with that, the first slide is going to be what is a DoD SkillBridge. DoD SkillBridge, that first bullet, provides an opportunity for service members to take about 180 days to work with a company, to apprentice with the company, or to gain some valuable training to receive a post-service employment. Now, there's different rules and regulations in place based off of which branch you're in. The 180 is the max, but if you're in the military, you know that you can add to but not take away. So a lot of branches have restricted the time to maybe 120, but 180 is kind of the max. And we'll get to that nuance later in terms of timeline. But SkillBridge started, it was from Congress Department of Labor. They were getting some heat for the unemployed veteran rate, meaning people would leave the military and they would be unemployed, right? So they created this program, SkillBridge, that allows you to get some post-service training, to go intern, so that you can have a job once you get out. And it's a really cool program. Let's see here, can gainful post-service appointment, I talked about that. And then what happens during your SkillBridge? So for the 180 days or however long you get to do for a SkillBridge, you maintain all of your benefits and all of your pay as if you were still in the service. So I did a SkillBridge, I was off doing some flight training, and the whole time I was getting my full rank pay, I was getting flight pay, I was still under TRICARE. The reason this is important is because while you're on a SkillBridge, you cannot get paid by that employer, by that training, company, or, by BreakTurn if you do a SkillBridge with us. But you do still get paid by the military. So it's kind of like free leave, if you will, but you're trying to seek that post-service employment. So that's the general overview of what a SkillBridge is. If you go to the next slide, the Army in its infinite acronym obsession has to change it a little bit. So if you are one of our service members who are in the Army calls it a career skills program. So if you're here a CSP or a career skills, it's the same thing as a SkillBridge, just the Army's flavor for it. So we'll go next slide. All right, for who's eligible. So the only people that aren't on here, I don't think we've updated. Did we update it? So Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, Marine, and Space Force. So anyone under the DoD and obviously the Coast Guard are eligible to do a SkillBridge, and each branch has a different set of rules. We'll get to that. BreakTurn, we know all of them, so let us help you out there. So next slide. All right, so where can you find a SkillBridge opportunity? We're obviously a SkillBridge provider, but we want to share with you the tools and resources in case you have a need to find out what other options are out there. Maybe you don't want to go aviation, or you don't want to do an internship with the helicopters or airplanes. You can go to this website here, so skillbridge.osd.mil. Once you're there, you click military separation data. And that allows you to search either by location, right? So if you live in Nashville, Tennessee, or Savannah, Georgia, you can search for a city and state, and it'll pull up all of the companies that are registered as a DoD-approved SkillBridge provider. Another option for that particular website is if you have a company that says they have SkillBridge status, or if you're curious if they do, say like Gulfstream in Savannah, you can search for that company's name on this website and it will come up. The reason that's important is because if you are not a DoD approved SkillBridge provider, you're not on this list, and a lot of branches won't allow you to take a SkillBridge if it's not with a formal SkillBridge provider that's recognized by the DoD. So there's different nuances there. I know the Army, I think, is the only branch that can still do what's called an individualized CSP, but most branches require the interning company to be on this website in some way, shape, or form. Now, we'll go next slide. The function of BreakTurn, right? So we just talked about what a SkillBridge is. It's 120 to 180 days. time away from work. So you're not showing up to the office, but you're still getting paid your paycheck and you're still getting all the TRICARE. And you're on this DoD website, this SkillBridge website. So what is BreakTurn? BreakTurn is a DoD approved SkillBridge provider, but we're a third-party SkillBridge provider. What that means is that we have our status, but we as a company don't really do anything with you. What we allow is to send you out to go get your intern, your training, to get whatever you need for that post-service employment. So what that means is a lot of our partners, we have 12, 13, 14, 20, 21 different partners that don't themselves have their DoD SkillBridge status, but because we do, we put them on SkillBridge with us and we send you there. So that includes, do you need to get your A&P ratings and certificate? We've got a partner that we'll send you to. Do you need to get your flight training and certificate? We have partners to send you to. Do you want to go work for a 135 company for airplanes? We have partners for that. Do you want to go fly helicopters, EMS? Do you want to fly choppers? Do you want to work with drones, with ATC? Anything that touches aviation, we have a series of partners across the country that allow us to put you on SkillBridge with them. The reason that's helpful to you is that BreakTurn knows about all the partners that are out there that don't show up on that website. And we have a team of counselors. Our counseling team is probably my favorite part. What that team does is you call them up and you say, hey, my name is Landon and I want to get out of the military in 2 years. I don't know what I want to do with my life, but I want to fly airplanes. We go, great. What ratings do you have? Do you have ratings? If you don't, maybe you have a enlisted to airlines or a non-military aviator to airlines route. Maybe you go to helicopter route. If you're a mechanic, we can get you set up with options you may have not known exist if you don't talk to our counseling team. We provide resources for you, whether it's resume prep, interview prep. We'll put you in touch with people that work in the industry that you can ask questions to at no cost. The best part about BreakTurn at large is that we don't charge veterans anything at all. It's 100% free. We're all veterans on the team, and the whole purpose is to kind of pay it forward, help folks kind of give the help and support that we wish we would have had. All the transition offices do an amazing job at all of the bases. We just know that aviation at large as an industry is a super niche market. And so having the expectation that these transition offices, these TAPs or TRP offices have all the super specific information, that's unrealistic. And so we want to be that those people that kind of help you out. So let's see here. We hit all the bullets in the slide. We're the only third-party SkillBridge provider that does counseling, and we specialize in aviation. So that's pretty important at what BreakTurn is. We'll go next slide. All right, process and timeline. So I'm going to give the brief overview of what you can expect in terms of the process and the timeline when you work with BreakTurn. But what I want to encourage you is to kind of get a general idea, but you need to connect with one of our counselors. The reason that's important is because this is a very basic timeline, but it doesn't necessarily fit for everyone. There's different uniquenesses based off of everyone's situation. So generally speaking, the process and timeline is, first and foremost, figure out, do you want to get out of the service? Are you going to retire? Is that something you want to do? If you aren't quite sure what you want to do with your life, that's fine, right? You can still use our counseling team to kind of explore your options, but eventually you have to make a decision saying, I'm going to make a decision to go do this thing. Then we would encourage you to begin your SkillBridge search. That can include going to the skillbridge.osd.mil website. You can talk to our counseling team to figure out what options are out there for you that you may not have known existed, right? Figuring out what you want to use that time block for your SkillBridge is kind of the first thing. The next thing you'll need to do is you'll need to get your TAPs or your TRP classes done, depending on which branch you're on. You're in, it's called something different. But you have to finish those classes. So start them early. I think depending on when this is aired, it's 2 years. I know it used to be 1 year, but it's generally 2 years out. You can go to your TRP or your TAPS classes to do that. The reason that's important is because we cannot help you, I guess legally or procedurally, we cannot put you on a SkillBridge until you have your TAPS classes, your TRP classes complete. So that's why it's important you kind of start that early. And then also request separation retirement. This bullet, I will state, and we all know and are aware, that as soon as you raise your hand and say, hey, I'm getting out, that you sometimes get the scarlet letter. And we understand that. All of us on the team here We all had to do that. And so we understand the hesitation there, but we want to encourage you to say the earlier that you can identify yourself as looking to transition out of the service, whether it's retirement or just separation, the better it's going to be for you. There's no shame in that. At a certain point, you have to control your career outside the military. You have to control your life. If you have significant others or a family, you're responsible for providing for them, and they're relying on you to have a plan that's well thought out and executed properly to make that transition successful. I will tell you from experience that if you delay in getting your plan together because you don't want to get the scarlet letter and be told, get out of here, it's going to put you behind on your transition, and it's not going to be anyone's fault but your own. So as best you can, like I said, talk to our counselors, talk to other folks, and just let it be known, hey, in 2 years, I would say is maybe the earliest. Any earlier than that, you may change your mind. But about 2 years out, you need to talk to your chain of command and say, hey, I'm looking to get out. I would like to do a SkillBridge program, and I would like to talk about it. As a former company commander, if someone came to me 4 weeks prior to requesting a SkillBridge, I would try, but I would likely say, hey man, I can't help you. I don't have a replacement for you. I've got you on the deployment rotator list. I wish you would have came to me earlier. I probably would have been able to help you out. So get on the net early, request that separation paperwork. Second block there, yellow block, once your separation, your retirement is approved, let us know. So the second thing we need for you to go on a SkillBridge with us, to another company to get your training, is you have to have your TRP, your TAPS classes done, and you have to have that paperwork. Whether it's retirement paperwork, ETS paperwork, whatever it is, we have to have that documentation because that's the date of which we're able to file your SkillBridge paperwork with the DoD and with all the rules and regulations. We take care of it, but we need that piece of paper for us to help you. Once that happens, we will put you in touch with one of our partners. Like I said, BreakTurn doesn't do anything with you. We have our counseling team, but you're not going to work for us or get trained by us on a SkillBridge. We're going to send you out to one of our partners. With that, we will send you an offer letter. Because we are on paper the SkillBridge company that you are SkillBridging with, we will provide the offer letter that goes into your SkillBridge packet. There's no need to worry about any of this. Our team will take care of it, but that's where that will come from. It'll come from us. Your TAPS and TRP is complete. Like I said, it's required before your first day of SkillBridge. And then at that moment in time, no earlier than 180 days prior to you ETSing or retiring, we can put you on a SkillBridge. The blue block there, SkillBridge begins, like I said, no later than 180 days. And then the last block there, it ends, your SkillBridge ends, and I'll get to on the next slide, depending on how you structure your SkillBridge, your time off window, there may be time for some PTDY to travel, to move. There may be some retirement leave or some terminal leave, but that's when you would take that. And we'll get to that timeline here in the next slide. Okay, so process and timeline, kind of another flavor, talking about the same stuff. 6 to 24 months out. I said 2 years out, start your TAPS classes. 2 years out, talk to your chain of command. If you're doing it 6 months prior, the only reason we put that on there is that some people will be watching this and say, oh no, I'm 9 months out, I'm doomed. You're not, right? I would say immediately call and talk to our counseling team to see what we can do to help you. But 6 months is like kind of the no later than. If you call us inside 6 months, there's not a whole lot we can do to help you. It's not a function of us being willing. It's a function of just the process needed to get you legally on that SkillBridge. Just there's no time for that. So 6 to 24 months out, you're going to get yourself prepared for a SkillBridge. About 12 to 24 months out, we'll get you applying for some of these SkillBridge companies. If you're going to train, to go get an AMP, to get some flight ratings, to do whatever you need training-wise, we'll put you in touch with that school to ask them about timelines, class dates, what do you need, prerequisites, etc. Maybe you're doing a SkillBridge with an actual bona fide company. We have plenty of partners that fly helicopters off the Gulf. They fly helicopters around the country. There's a couple airplane companies. You can go fly a turbine engine jet, right, on a SkillBridge. They're revenue producing jobs. You still have to interview for those jobs. They won't just take you on a SkillBridge just because you signed up and because you're in the military. So the 12 to 24 month mark is when we would put you kind of through that process. Hey, do you have interview prep? Do you have resume prep? Have you talked to the company yet? Do you have the prerequisites? Like that's kind of the middle period where we start really putting your plan together. And then again, that last 180 days ideally is when we would want you to go on a SkillBridge. So the next slide kind of gets into a little bit of a nuance. Go back, there we go. So the kind of the last piece that I wanted to communicate, we talked about what a SkillBridge is. We talked about how BreakTurn is a third-party provider. We talked about it's 180 days. This slide here is just a little bit of more data. The 180, okay, I'm gonna try to slow down here. The 180 days is from the day that you retire and or ETS minus 180 days is the earliest you can start a SkillBridge or a CSP. If you want to take 10 days of terminal leave, okay, you cannot do a 180-day SkillBridge and then 10 days of terminal leave because the total cannot exceed 180. So you would have to do a 170-day SkillBridge with 10 days of terminal leave because 170 plus 10 is 180, okay? The total time from when you start your SkillBridge to when you no doubt get out cannot exceed 180. Now, there is some things we can do to help you, depending on how much leave you have and the willingness of your chain of command to maybe file some of that leave on the front side of your SkillBridge. So if you take 30 days of leave and then start your SkillBridge window of 180 days, you can maybe get some more time to get some more valuable training. Maybe you can, if you have to relocate or move, maybe some of our candidates, they have to go to school A to get their A&P ratings and their experience report done, and then they leave and go to these airline companies, these helicopter companies, and actually work on maintenance, right? They're still not getting paid because they're on a SkillBridge, but they're getting their next job lined up. That's the whole point of this. So I don't want to confuse anyone. Talk with your counselor, but if you hear people saying, oh yeah, I stopped showing up from work in January, I didn't get out till November, correct, because they were able to use their leave, they were able to use a SkillBridge, and then maybe at the end, for me personally, I did 45 days of leave. I did a 170-day career skills program because I was in the Army. And then I left myself 10 days of terminal leave on the end for contingencies, right? Because I'm a pilot, aviator, whatever, is in case there were things I missed, right? Clearing, I messed something up paperwork-wise or whatever. I gave myself 10 days of kind of what if, and it worked out. But from the time my SkillBridge started to the end, wasn't more than 180. So that's kind of the general overview. We'll go to the last slide there. It's kind of the farewell slide. So we talked about what a SkillBridge is and why it exists. We talked about who BreakTurn is, who we are, how we can help you. We have a counseling team. We're a third-party provider with a bunch of partners that can help you get a gainful employment post-service. We talked about the timeline. We talked about being able to take 180 days. Maybe if you add some leave on the left side, maybe a little bit on the right side, we can kind of make that work. And then we talked about kind of things needed for us to be able to put you on a SkillBridge. The last thing I'll say, which is pretty important, is that we are completely staffed by a large team of veterans. We have a robust team with people from all different branches. I think we're only missing maybe Space Force. We'll see if we can get somebody over there. But we're all veterans, and everything's 100% free. So by that, I mean calling our counselors, that's free. Calling our counselors 17 times because you're having trouble making a decision, also free. Getting a SkillBridge with a bona fide company, that's free. Us doing your paperwork to do your SkillBridge, that's free. If I have to call your chain of command and just explain the process, totally fine, that's free. The point is that we as veterans want to help other veterans make that successful transition to go get that gainful post-service employment to keep doing their thing, keep serving in their own way. So if you have any questions, please hit us up. Check us out on our website. We've got a ton of videos, a ton of resources out there for you. We go to several conferences, so be sure to follow us on social media. And we're here to help. If you know someone who could use our help, forward on this video. We want to hear from them. We want to help them with our team. So thanks a lot. Landon from BreakTurn. See you guys later.